If you said, here's $100,000 in gold, it's going to look really impressive. A person can look at that pile of gold and immediately understand its value. But if you made that video in 2022 and it's still floating around out there, wow, does that video need an update? Okay, early 2020, I thought gold and silver were about to get a lot more interesting. That's why I spun up this channel. I thought that we would see metals prices probably double without much trouble, but the purpose here was never meant to spin up a get-rich-quick plan. It wasn't financial advice. It was just to try to demystify buying the stuff, maybe share some tips that I'd picked up to lock in some good habits and avoid the bad ones. Simple stuff here. Just set some goals, work toward them a little bit at a time. Now, 5 years later, gold and silver has more than doubled without much trouble, and maybe some of you have done really well buying them along the way, but that still isn't the point here. This is still not financial advice. This is really just about practical planning, about understanding what's really going on and maybe keeping things simple enough to stick with. Now, everyone, they have their own number in mind, but $100,000 is going to be a common benchmark, and that would represent a significant part of any long-term plan. Now, before we take that further, quick shout out to Summit Metals. If you're looking for gold and silver, they have you covered. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, summitmetals.com. So this is what $100,000 in gold looks like today. No get-rich-quick plan to get here, just a simple idea and the math behind it. 24 ounces of gold at $4,220 an ounce gets you just north of the $100,000 mark. Now, 24 ounces of gold in early 2020 got you nowhere near that. In February of 2020, 24 ounces of gold was actually worth $38,400. Yeah, you heard that right. What took 62 and a half ounces of gold in early 2020 now takes 24. Okay, let's rearrange the desk here so we can see this comparison a little bit more clearly. Today's $100,000 in gold, by the way, it's just 24 ounces at today's spot price, $4,164 an ounce. And there's nothing special about these coins. We're not adding any kind of premium of any kind to get to that $100,000 mark. This is just 24 ounces of standard gold coins. 20 ounces in a mint tube plus 4 more American Gold Eagles beside it. And yeah, these mint tubes are empty. Just use your imagination. Now back it up to 2020 to hit that same mark. We need 62 and a half ounces. So 3 mint tubes, 2 more 1 ounce American Gold Eagles, and then 2 1/4 ounce American Gold Eagles as well. So this is it in one frame. It's a very significant change. Like I said, I don't think of gold as any kind of get-rich-quick scheme, but this is what happened over the past 5 years. On the left, $100,000 in gold today. On the right, $100,000 in gold when I made my first video here in 2020. It's pretty dramatic when we look at it like that, but nothing fundamentally changed with gold, not with what it does, not with how it fits in as some kind of savings plan. So even though it doubled in price, it actually more than doubled. You wouldn't say that it turned into some kind of different animal. It still moved the way that gold usually does, steady, not volatile. So tortoise rather than the hare. Well, let's put some real numbers to this. If we started back in early 2020, we bought the same amount of gold each month, just a simple, regular purchase, we would have spent most of our time buying well below the $2,000 an ounce mark. So some months it would have been under $1,800, some under $1,700, and a few even cheaper than that. So pick an amount, say a half ounce a month. By the time we reach 24 ounces, the total cost would have been nowhere near $100,000. It would have been $45,000. So $45,000 using 3% premiums to buy, but not adding anything beyond spot price to the end value. Now, how did we get there? Well, that was half an ounce a month for 48 months. And if we stayed on that pace, we would have gone past the 24. We'd be at 29 and a half ounces today. Our total cost would be $58,000. The value would be around $123,000. Now, this is the part that's really easy to overlook when you think of a one-off purchase being above $4,000 an ounce today. That price today feels really expensive, but again, the path to get here wasn't. So look, I'm not trying to give any kind of pitch here, some kind of weird monologue on why everyone should be buying gold. I'm just updating some scenarios that I've put out over the years that are way off today. The first time I showed what $100,000 in gold looked like, it took 54 and a half ounces. It looked pretty cool, but if it also looked intimidating or expensive in any way, well, it's far more so today, because that 54.5 ounces would now be worth $227,000, and not really a casual amount that you just throw out on a desk. Now, it's never meant to be completely casual, but it wasn't meant to be complicated either. What this comes down to for me is just having a plan that matches what you can realistically save and then directing it to something interesting and effective. Now, I've mentioned emergency funds over the years. That's interesting to me. Setting aside a certain amount of gold for a certain length of time made it real. It can actually give a tangible use case too. So my goal was 2 ounces a month for 2 years as a backup fund. Well, that escalated pretty quickly because half of that is now worth $100,000. That's a big backup fund. And if you think of gold instead as some kind of portfolio hedge, well, 24 ounces is now 5% of a $2 million portfolio. So that 24 ounce level kind of snuck up on us. It's wild how significant that amount of gold has all of a sudden become. Okay, so earlier I said I thought gold and silver would double in price without much trouble. That's why I started this channel. That's why I started buying more in 2020. But really, what I expected it to do over time is just stay ahead of inflation. Gold wasn't nearly as exciting between 2014 and 2019, but that plan still made sense, even if it wasn't. Now, I think that that's a point that gets really easy to gloss over when you could just point to price doubling and tripling and say, I knew it all along. It's easy to act like it was obvious after the fact, like we saw this coming, but that's not how it really felt in real time. Most of the time, it was just small, forgettable moves, years of consolidation when it felt like nothing was happening. And if you were buying during those years, maybe you felt like it wasn't some kind of master plan. It was just a routine. It might have even made you question whether it was worth it at all. But if you stuck with it, those are the years that did the real work. Now, realistically, it could do that again at some point, and it could do it for a while. But again, that's where the ounces pile up. That's where the average cost comes down. The big move that we're looking at right now, it's fun, but the slow part is what made the multiplier so strong. And really, I don't think gold has to gain 40% each year to be practical. So what I wanted to do was update the visual. $100,000 in gold. I think we got that. 24 ounces looks a lot different than that 54.5 ounces did from 2022 or 62.5 from when I started this channel in 2020. It's wild how fast this changed. This whole game seems different, but the idea is still the same. Put aside a reasonable amount on a consistent schedule over a long enough timeline, and it adds up to something significant. So $100,000 in the example I'm showing. The number, though, really is not the point. The idea is just a habit that minimizes bad decisions, keeps your risk low, and doesn't require constant adjustments. At least not to the plan itself. If the price doubles on you, though, you probably do need to go back in and adjust your math. And let's call it good there. Let us know what you think. Are you shifting goals or expectations? I mean, 24 ounces versus 62.5. It's such a wild change if you think about it. Probably changes a lot of plans out there. Let us know. And then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed if you want to hear more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.